as we started looking at our organization, we've gone by a lot of different names, from Uptown Quincy to the historic Quincy Business District. And I can't tell you the number of times a week where I'll meet somebody and they'll go, Quincy Historic District Business Guy. And you just kind of go, yeah, that's me, and go on with it. But even HQBD doesn't exactly roll off the tongue for people that aren't familiar with our organization. And so there was a lot of misunderstanding what it is that our organization does, what it is we don't do. We got a lot of calls about dogwood or this, that, or the other, but that's not us. And so it really kind of helped us identify, you know, what it is that's an HQBD event, what it is that isn't, and how our services can impact businesses. This all really started about 2 years ago when we started talking about wayfinding. And as that wayfinding got closer, we realized that we needed to take a good hard look in the mirror and say, is what we have now what we want on the wayfinding signage? Because once those go up, that's a 10, 15, 20 plus year commitment that we're pretty much stuck with whatever brand we've got at the time. And so we really took an opportunity as our board of directors and our volunteers to start looking at our organization and say, is this what we want? And what we did is we put out an RFP and had several national companies that submitted proposals, and they were very, very good, ranged across the board from Atlanta to LA to New York. And we did have a local company that we ended up selecting for a lot of different reasons. Certainly one was price. They were local and very familiar with us and were able to cut us a very favorable deal because of that. But they're also a company that had a lot of history with us. That history was something that we were a little concerned about and shared with them, and they were very cognizant of it because we wanted somebody that was going to be very critical and very honest with us and not just say, oh yeah, what you've got is great. We needed somebody to have that fresh opinion and that outside look. And so they worked with a lot of their out-of-town vendors and suppliers and people that they do business with to provide some objective feedback and really help refine what it is our message is. The first thing we did is we really took a good hard look at everything with a very thorough communication audit that really dug into the nature of our fractured message. You know, we were sending just in emails, for example. Our retail email didn't look like our newsletter, didn't look like our email to the boards, and so they said, you know, all of that was just kind of leading to a very fractured message. In January, we started dealing with the Recusik team pretty frequently with our executive committee to narrow down the list of, okay, once we got to the point where we said we're changing, then it became what are we changing to? And we started working from a lot of different options down to 2 or 3, and then once we settled on the one, then it was several meetings where we were refining and tweaking what it was we wanted to be. And in April, our board unanimously approved the new brand. Obviously a little theatrics, but this was for our show a little earlier. But our new brand is the district. We really wanted to be definitive. We wanted to be the district. Quincy's got a lot of districts. You've got Calftown, you've got the East End Historic District, the Central Business District. But we wanted to be the definitive place for economic and entertainment, dining, shopping activity. And so we really felt like this was a really strong way to go. This symbol actually started out to be the district in relationship to the city, kind of off to the west, middle of the city. When we started looking at it, though, some people saw the park in relation to the district. Some people saw Quincy in relation to the state. Some people even saw brick and mortar, which was great because it really, that red color was important to us. So many people in Quincy do blue. So many people in Quincy, you know, do something that is different than what we do, and that's a good thing for us. We wanted to be distinctive, and that brick color really, hopefully, will drive home that architecture, the hard lines, and a lot of that brick that you're going to find throughout the district. Again, text. I'm not going to get too much into that, but show you a couple use cases, some ways we're going to do it. Our new website actually is live now, thedistrictquincy.com. Our shop site is shopthedistrictquincy.com. Fresh new look, just a new way to present ourselves to the community and hopefully better identify not just what we do, but what we offer businesses, because that is pretty much the core of our mission. I mentioned that this all tied into wayfinding. We wanted to make sure this was done in time for the Wayfinding launch, and I know that's probably where most of your questions will lie, what the better part of this presentation is as far as amount of content. And so without further ado, I want to introduce John Lutz and Chris Wong. This was the firm that you guys as a city council selected, help me out here, back in February. And they started working with us really that week. They've been to Quincy several times to look at everything that you'll see here and really help work with the steering committee to provide what you've got in front of you. So there's a hard copy on everybody's desk, and John's going to run you through that.
Thank you, guys. I'm John Lutz from Selwert Perkins Design, and thank you for having me. I'm going to quickly go through this presentation. There's a lot of material to cover, so I can take questions at the end if you have any additional needs additional information. Our project objective was really to develop a comprehensive wayfinding system that helps the navigation to get people to the various destinations within the district, to help not only vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, to help not only identify the businesses and get people within the district, but help in terms of safety and getting people quickly to the destinations within the district itself. We were very excited about the brand and how that can start to be incorporated into the signage and wayfinding system, and it really lends a lot. We want it to be a big cohesive approach. We did a series of visits and started to understand the different approaches coming into the city as well as into the district itself. What we found from our analysis is that there's really a lack of sense of arrival, no monument or gateway when you get into Quincy or into the district. There's no messaging on the DOT system for downtown Quincy or the district. And there was really a lack of sense of place or branding of the district in the streetscape. We also went through in detail and looked at the existing conditions within the district. There's a lot going on. We obviously want something that unites everything that's going on within the downtown district itself. All the different approaches and the decisions are identified in red, the kind of major decision points into the downtown. And parking obviously was a big task here in understanding how the lots are identified and how they're being directed to. They really are not being directed to at all right now, but there are a lot of lots and there's a lot of parking. So I just think that there's a problem. I think parking is obviously something in the implementation phase that we would move to the front because people just don't know that they're there. As we started to look at the other plans that have been done, we understand there's a series of other districts that we want to incorporate potentially into the system as it gets expanded. So basically, obviously, a district kind of within the district synopsis, it lacks a sense of place and branding, lacks a clear circulation. There's really nothing to get a visitor throughout into the district and throughout the district. There's a real lack of connection between the waterfront, the river, and downtown. We want to promote that as we start to look at the signage and the locations. And they're underdeveloped destinations and amenities in terms of how we direct to these different places. And we need some sort of processional element to unify the district as a whole. So we've done a series of recommendations. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because we have some design that we want to also share with you. Recommendation number one is to identify downtown and the district on the major approaches going into Quincy. And along that main arteries coming into downtown, we recommend doing some sort of trailblazing element, repeating element, either it's banners or a sculptural element or something that helps identify you're on the right path coming into town. Once you get into the district, we start to identify the main circulation that we would start to direct people throughout the district. There's obviously a lot of one-way streets that are confusing to people. We took that into consideration as we start to understand how we're going to program our sign locations so that we can get people to the various destinations. We want to identify the district with gateways at major points of entry, whether there's some kind of spanning element or a vertical element. We want to identify and then do a cohesive wayfinding system that's consistent and clear and functional. I think that's the most important thing. We want to make sure what we do isn't just pretty, it's functional. Within the district, we want to identify the perimeter and mark it as with banners or trailblazer elements. We want to design a cohesive sign program that goes all the way from gateways all the way down to your regulatory sign at your parking lot. It should all be the same language. It should all feel like it creates a sense of place with the design of the sign. And then in terms of sign messages, we give people a message on a need-to-know basis, so we don't crowd the signs with over text, like over information. We don't want to overload people. So when you get off the highway, we direct to Quincy, to downtown, to the riverfront, to parking. Then they get out of their car, and then they can get a more in-depth directional messages. This is another way of looking at how we can integrate symbology into the design. Clearly identifying parking with the international parking symbol in the parking lots. We have talked to the team and the executive committee about actually naming the lots. Right now the lots are named like A, B, D, E. This is very confusing the way that they're, no one really understands the names, so we are recommending actually starting to work to look at some of the historic stories and the companies, the kind of founding companies of Quincy that have been here for a long time that could potentially be naming for these different lots that will help to better identify them in the wayfinding system. And then at these lots, there's a potential to integrate sculpture and art. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. And then we want a clear connection to the riverfront, be it vehicular or pedestrian. I know it's a hike going up that hill, but we want to kind of enhance that and encourage people to walk pedestrian walking up to the waterfront and back. Integrate the brand clearly into the system. Integrate pedestrian maps that show all of the different trails, the Looking for Lincoln, the bike paths. All of this information can be incorporated into the pedestrian path as well as the major destinations. We also talked about doing a radius showing the walking distance to these different spots to help encourage people to walk around for health. And looking at while we're starting to program new signs, looking at ways to integrate technology down the line. It doesn't have to be implemented in the initial phase, but 20 years from now, have the infrastructure there to be able to do something digital would be good. Looking at public art and amenities that can be incorporated on existing structures, be it a side of a building or a support of a bridge. There's opportunities here that are out there that we can take advantage of. And then, of course, developing storytelling that really creates a sense of place. People, want to learn more as they get out of their car and how we can do interpretive signage to help celebrate some of these stories. We think that's a very positive experience. It's something people tell about. They tell their friends about. Hey, did you go check out this story, down in Washington Park? And then, of course, celebrating Quincy's rich architectural history. I think that we were very excited about when we were doing our stakeholder interviews, and we said, what's the one thing that you would tell your friends about Quincy? And everyone said, the architecture. And I was like, the river's right here, and you say the architecture? So they all said the architecture. That was like the number one thing. And it's beautiful. It's really, we want to capitalize on it and promote it. So as we start to look at the initial concept design, we've looked at a list of destinations that we're starting to identify on our wayfinding signs once you get into the district. So we have, I don't want to get into detail, but we've actually programmed a list of destinations on our signs. And then as we're approaching the district, we're clearly in the, you can't really see colors on screen here, but we have purple dots that mark the perimeter, gateways at the major entries, parking identity signs once you get into parking. And then the green signs here are all pedestrian and vehicular wayfinding to get people around the streets in the district itself. These are just diagrams showing the different sign types, be it a gateway or a direction sign or a directory that we're incorporating into that plan. And then conceptually, we started to look at how we can combine some of these ideas together. We were very excited about the branding with these layers of squares that identify the district, as well as the architectural kind of brick detailing that we see in downtown, and how we can start to combine those into a gateway. So what we're suggesting here on the left is a vertical gateway that would be a lantern element. So there's a glass fin that incorporates this kind of, whoa, did something happen here? There we go. Sorry. That incorporates the brick base and then a glass fin. We have that illuminates and becomes a lantern at night. We integrate the branding directly onto the gateway itself. Then we have a clear, consistent wayfinding system that is incorporated within the infrastructure, be it a vehicle sign or a pedestrian sign with a directory map, and how that system starts to be incorporated into the other sign types. We're proposing doing trailblazer elements to help get you on the arteries throughout the district, as well as banner system that could start to incorporate some of the visual language. Directories that have the path of travels and the walking distances clearly notated, and then the parking signs that clearly identify it as a parking lot and then have your regulatory information underneath. And then there's an opportunity where we can then start to incorporate sculpture, which I'll talk about in a second. On screen, it's a little blurry, but you can start to see how these elements start to work. A wayfinding sign here on the right that attaches to the light pole. Banners lead you up into the district, and then as you get into the district, there's an opportunity for a gateway. So we're looking at these portals that you would drive through that would clearly mark you have arrived into the district. In terms of parking, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but there's so many great stories and opportunities to create a custom kind of parking system, and naming these parking lots after some of these companies that have these fantastic legacies here in Quincy was something that the team was very excited about. And so we started thinking about how we identify and how we plan to we wayfind, and signs and directional signs are one thing, but a lot of basically animals, everybody wayfinds with landmark elements, and these are some sculptures we did. We did it for a project in LA for a design school that act tools that we like to incorporate into our work, and this is a fantastic opportunity where we can augment some of these parking lots, do our parking signage that clearly identifies the lot, but then do a sculpture that relates to the name of the lot. That could be a nice opportunity. This is for Gates Radio. Michael Min Steel could be this great rusted, kind of sculptural steel element. And these become this is for Knapheide Manufacturing, these kind of wagon wheels that are just beautifully, finished. And this becomes a sculptural element that people can, it becomes a photo opportunity that people can then, go take their photo in front of, a meeting place and a gathering place. And so the team was very excited about how that could potentially work. So as we started to look at how, we approach this, we are always looking at the big picture. And, as through our analysis, we were seeing as people are coming over from Missouri into Quincy, right now they're seeing a Mountain Dew billboard. And there's no welcome sign that says you have arrived at Quincy. And we think there's a missed opportunity here. And, this is just a really, initial study, throw a concept out there, but there needs to be something, in the long run that says you have arrived in Quincy, and then that would then lead into some of this district gateway that we were starting to look at. So thank you very much for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Did I do all right? Did all right on time? Good? Sorry? What's the fear of overdoing it? Well, I think we study, we don't want to overdo it. That's correct. And so, I know that when you see all those dots on the plan, it looks like a lot, but it's, that encompasses a lot of, strategy in terms of, we're really only locating signs at decision points, major decision points within the district. We're not saying there's a sign on every single corner, but where there's a trail that we're suggesting you follow, we will have a sign kind of located in there. And, and we also look to incorporate our signs onto existing infrastructure, be it light poles or, other vertical elements. So we're not putting more posts in the city. We want to use what's out there, and that's kind of an outlining strategy that we've talked about from the beginning. Well, there's not a lot out there. You know, the DOT signs would obviously stay. You know, those are required, but right now there's very little current wayfinding that's even out there. So what we're suggesting is really adding to help people, to get people, you know, basically from the major routes of travel into the district, which there's really nothing right now directing people in there.